Welcome to episode 34 of the Mile 20 podcast where epic shit happens. My name is Lori and I am here today with multiple people. My bestie Laura,
Hey
my
there.
daughter Maggie, and Laura's daughter Maddie, which might get a little confusing later, but hopefully it'll be okay. And we are coming to you via Zoom today, so we're kind of all scattered around. And to talk to you today about Marathon du Médoc, which was a
Yay.
it was a bucket list item for us. Been on our bucket list since 2016, a destination race. And we want to share our experiences with you guys. So this episode, we will be discussing aerialists, lifeguards, and dehydration. So we're
Lots of
excited.
lifeguards.
Lots of lifeguards, lots of sailors, lots of pirates.
Lots of butts.
Lots of everything. We would like to remind you all to check us out on all of our socials at Mile 20 Podcast. Like us, throw us some comments. We love hearing from you guys. And now, does anybody have a Mile 20 beverage of the week that they would like to share?
No, go ahead, Maddie. You start. Because we can see yours on screen here for those of you on YouTube.
So I went with a variation of the Saint-Germain Spritz, because that was, other than wine, because French wine is, as we have learned, somewhat superior. It was my drink of choice if I was not drinking wine. So it usually consists of elderflower liqueur, which is Saint-Germain, and then a little bit of Prosecco and some club soda and mint. My variation comes out of the fact that I did not, in fact, own elderflower liqueur like I thought I did. I own elderflower gin. So here's my variation. Still tastes good, not quite as fresh as a normal Saint-Germain Spritz. So,
Wow. Gin and Prosecco. And yeah, it's my girl.
Yeah.
still tasty.
What about you, Lori? What are you drinking?
I am drinking a lovely red from the Château Coucy.
Oh, nice. How is it?
Yes. Oh, it's exquisite.
Oh, that's awesome. How about
It's
you, Max?
delicious.
I meant to open a glass of wine because I plan on scrapbooking tonight and watch Dancing with the Stars.
Oh,
Don't have
nice.
anything yet. So
Okay.
right now, nothing, but I will likely have a glass of white wine later.
Outstanding. Well, oh, surprise, surprise, I'm drinking water again. So yeah, trying to watch. Hey man, I started my Be Balanced last week, and as of this morning, I'm down 7.5 pounds. So go me.
Woohoo!
I'm super proud of myself. It's like the struggle is real, but like today I put on a pair of my jeans that I couldn't even button before I went to Paris a couple weeks ago. So I'm very, very proud of myself.
Nice.
Like very,
That-
very focused right now. Yeah. I have
Have
a lot of clothes
you-
in my closet I need to fit back into.
Well, congratulations on that. That's wonderful. I'm sure I will be in the same spot about this time next week.
Yeah. The struggle bus was real because it was like one of those like, oh, it's cool outside. Let me go put on my jeans. And I was like, fuck. And I was already kind of like in that space before I left for Paris. So yeah, it was a nice dose of reality. So Maddie, you were going to say something?
Have you talked to listeners about what the Be Balanced program is before? Just so
No,
that
I haven't. I
you
have
understand
not,
what you're
but
talking about.
yeah, no, but I think that it'll be a great idea. Like kind of after I come on the tail end of it, I think that that'll be a good future topic. I think that's a great suggestion because it's definitely geared towards women who are going through menopause or on the back end of menopause, perimenopause. Focuses on like hormone rebalancing. So yeah, we'll go and tee that up just mentally, like maybe another episode. So good suggestion.
Yeah, we need all the help we can get.
No shit, man. Like no shit,
All
But-
the help. Yeah. Anyway, especially after a couple weeks of drinking wine and eating French foods and, increasing that carb intake more so than we normally do when we are home.
Yeah, yeah. But man, that French wine is like water. It's just so good. And you don't feel guilty about drinking it at lunch as well as dinner.
Well,
In
because
between.
everybody's doing it, it's like rosé all day. You have to have your rosé with lunch. Dave and I were out to lunch yesterday, and we had a lovely little carafe of rosé, and it's just, it's just commonplace. Just
I
is what
know.
it is.
I know. It's definitely part of the culture, that's for sure.
So, speaking of French wines, because we were just, discussing all of our French wines and how guiltless it is to be drinking them, I think we found, because we were here for a little bit prior to us going to Medoc, that we could go to the grocery store and is aisles of fabulous French wines that are very inexpensive. And when I say inexpensive, I mean
Like dirt
anything from
cheap.
like
Like dirt
two
cheap.
euros. Yeah, dirt
Dirt
cheap.
cheap,
And I mean
but
quality.
tasty.
Crazy, crazy quality wines. So we had been sitting around, I think it was like the day before drinking wine, and I pulled up this Chateau Cusi, which is my mile 20 beverage of the week. And while we were sitting around, I just happened to Google them and saw that they were kind of on our way to Bordeaux, from where we are staying on the Dordogne River. And I was able to book us a quick experience on our way into Bordeaux right before packet pickup and all of that. So we drove out near Saint Emilion and we went to Chateau Cussy and had a lovely little chateau tour and then a tasting, um, with, a whole charcuterie board and stuff like that. Which one, Maddie, did you find was your favorite wine of all those? Do you remember?
My favorite, it was a split between their Sauvignon Blanc, which I think is a 2023, and then their Chateau Cussy 2021. I think it was the more fruity version, less oaky version, or
Yeah.
like less woody flavor. So it was less of like a dry flavor as it passed over your tongue, more of like a fruit forward, tangy, that kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did
Did you
buy a
wind up,
bottle.
Laura,
Hmm?
did you wind up with any bottles? Did you buy anything while you were there?
Yeah, I actually bought bottles and then I ended up leaving them with Maddie and Kelsey when we departed. Be
Nope, we drank the one bottle that you got from Chateau Cussy. All you,
Oh,
Kelsey.
is that the one that I opened?
Mhm.
We had so many bottles of damn wine in the apartment that we stayed in Bordeaux. I kind of like lost track, and I know like one night I did open up a bottle. So, that wine was absolutely delicious, and I love my Sauvignon Blancs, and that Sauvignon Blanc, Maddie, I happen to agree that it just was just the right hint of like a little mineral taste, but like finished, fruity, but not too fruity, kind of like had a little buttery finish, but it didn't taste like a Chardonnay. I don't know. There was something like just really dynamic about that bottle of wine. But I think the thing that probably was the most memorable for me, doing that wine tasting, because we did it outside overlooking, they have a smaller vineyard, but overlooking it, was the fact that Maggie, your boyfriend Connor, it was his first wine tasting ever. And he was like, "All right, what do I do?" Like because there was like the spit bucket, the dump bucket in front. Like, what do I do? Do I just like squish it in my mouth and spit it out? Like, so I totally appreciated that. Just as we were all just going through, like this place was all new to us. It was like a new experience for Connor, and I loved that. I loved being able to go and I know he's probably sitting right next to you, but I love sharing that with him. See, there he is. I loved sharing that. And the charcuterie platter was like absolutely phenomenal. It had
Oh,
meats and cheeses and vegetables and some fruits on it, and everything was so freaking fresh and delicious.
Yeah, the charcuterie board was really good. And I think not only like the wine tasting was a new experience for him, we did a small tour before we got to taste the wine where there was a little bit of a language barrier, but you could pretty much understand the gist of what she was saying. And she was explaining the harvest season, and we got to see where the wine is held in cement containers, which was different
Yes. Very
wood.
different.
Yeah, different from wood or metal. So it was his first time seeing even like the storage cellar, things like that. So yeah, that was a lovely morning.
Yeah, so
Oh, go ahead,
go
Matt.
ahead.
It was also pretty cool to learn the difference between even the areas just outside of Saint-Emilion are you're able to harvest with machines. So you can have the larger fields and not hire as many hands during harvest season and still produce a lot of wine during that time frame because you're harvesting so many grapes. Granted, your harvest then becomes more compact and you're doing it in far less time, I think, than what a normal vineyard that has to
Yeah, it said
hand
it
pick
takes a
does.
week with the
Yeah, so
machinery.
so Saint-Emilion, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, but they are required within that small micro region to handpick their grapes, which I thought was incredible. They're trying to preserve. France is very cool about this, where they have certain things in place to try to preserve the history, the traditional ways, try to keep a connection between modern day and what was even like 100 years ago. I think that that's really cool. That's really important to do. It's something that not a lot of countries see the value in. And I think it's incredible that we even saw it, like the difference between different vineyards that are
Yeah.
maybe 20 minutes apart from each other.
I totally agree.
So in France, they have a label. It's called its initials are AOP,
Hmm.
and that goes for cheese, different types of meat like foie gras, the wines. If there is a traditional process that is protected, it behooves people who are artisanal in what they're doing and what they're producing. The only way they can get an AOP is if they follow certain processes which are protected, which I think is very cool. Agreed.
And
It's very
Italy
unique.
has a similar kind of marking process as well for like them keeping tradition in a similar fashion. But yeah, I think Maddie, to your point about the hand picking of the grapes, I think the our guide who gave us the tour of the vineyard said that the process actually takes about 3 weeks to do it by hand versus 1 week, by machinery. So there's a true commitment there, by going and following Lori, the traditions that you were talking about to earn those labels.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool. Part of what's neat about Marathon du Médoc is that you are here in the process of harvest season or right on the edge of it. Like we've been here, for quite a while now. I'm still in France, and it's funny to watch as you're like, oh, that field's been picked. That one's not yet. Like you can kind of see the progress of how all of the grapes are being harvested, and it's just really cool to see and be here for it. And some of the festivities that go along with the harvests are insane. But yeah, it's been very cool to watch.
Yeah.
But so we went from Chateau Coucy, and we did something a little bit different from the norm. I think when you sign up like we did it with accommodations, which means we got our bibs with a hotel. And when you do that, I think a lot of people are expected to kind of follow their program, which would be that they had buses that ran all day long between our hotel and Pauillac for the packet pickup, going back and forth. But it
Right.
was like kind of odd. Like if you got the 2 p.m. bus, then you were to take the 6 p.m. bus back. So they expected you to kind of be in Pauillac for 4 hours. We had a car, so we kind of ditched, the whole taking the bus out there thing so that we could have our own flexibility. And we decided to drive ourselves to Pauillac. So
Yes,
we
we
roll
did.
in. Yes, we did.
And we left
So
and we left Jim and Dave and Connor and Maddie's friend Kelsey joined us. She flew into Bordeaux. We left them all in Bordeaux. And then we continued on our way to Pauillac.
yes. And it was kind of crazy. Like you could definitely tell that Marathon du Médoc takes over that town. It kind of felt like a sleepier town to me. a little off the beaten path, but I'm sure because of the fact that it's right there in the Medoc region, which is like world renowned wines, I'm sure it's got a following. But it's kind of weird being here in early September. You kind of enter into the shoulder season. So it kind of felt like the town was sleepy, except for this massive marathon that was going on or they were preparing for.
I wonder if it's similar to New Yorkers with St. Patrick's Day and SantaCon, where as a New Yorker, you just know to kind of stay as a shut-in for a moment while everyone else does what they plan to do for St. Patrick's Day and SantaCon. Maybe.
Maybe that could very well be true. 100%. Yep. So when we got there, there was a lot, it was very busy. And we kind of found a parking spot, parked the car, left it.
We did.
Yep.
And now the whole reason why we were going there is because that's where our bib pickup was. So
Yes.
and it was about well over an hour drive from Bordeaux to Pauillac to get there.
Yes. Yeah, it's a little ways out. But I would have to say it was a very, very happening expo. Like, I don't think they keep the sampling to just, the marathon. Because, we've talked about the fact that Marathon du Médoc has 23 aid stations with wine that they offer. But I found it was a very festive atmosphere from the get-go, I think. Like, I feel like there were people sitting at the bar for 3 hours prior to us getting there for bib pickup.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me.
I feel like what I'll add to the packet pickup, which was more unique than other packet pickups that I've been to, they were heavily advertising other small races as well, which I was very surprised by. I feel like usually the race is very centered on their own race, but I'm thinking because of the nature of the race being a more fun-natured race, that there was a lot of advertisements for other fun-oriented races, which I thought was really cool and great marketing for all these other races, because I think it's rare to see other races being marketed at a race expo for one particular race, if that
Yeah,
makes
I mean,
sense.
in the States, you do see that as well. So it is common in the bigger expos, but I do agree that they focused more on races to attract the crazies that were running Medoc. And like Maddie, you found one that was interesting that you keep repeating in text to us in Scotland. What one was that one?
Oh, whoa,
I
whoa, whoa. That's
do.
not Maddie.
No, so Maggie and Lori discovered it first. I was minding my own business in La La Land, and then I realized that they were drinking scotch. So then I walked over. I want to clarify that.
You've
I
like
have
brought
brought it
that
up a
back
couple
up
times.
in our chat. That was like, oh, you got to remember that one. And what do you remember what that one was called?
So it is referred to as dramathon. So a dram of whiskey or of scotch, specifically scotch, because it takes place in Scotland. My interpretation of what we were told that day is that they have, instead of wine stops for Marathon du Médoc, they have whiskey stops,
I
specifically
just can't even
scotch,
imagine.
for dramathon. So that would be a very interesting race. And I think, Mom, you latched onto that because you've been chomping at the bit to try to go to Scotland recently.
Yeah, but like
No.
drinking scotch and running, like to me, that's like a whole other level. But I guess
Maybe we
scotch
won't have as
is
many
kind of like a
stops as
whiskey, and
Marathon
we
du
do
Médoc.
Fireball. Yeah, yeah.
But
I'll
yeah,
do it.
so
I will do it. I will fall
let
on
my
the
bank account
sword.
recover first.
Yeah, girl, your liver's got to recover from being in France for a couple
Yeah.
weeks. So,
I feel well trained at this point. I can handle it. Throw me
oh
in,
my
coach.
goodness. Well, so we find a parking spot, right? That was downtown. It had like a gate area around it, but we ended up parking there. So we decided to grab some lunch before we went and did our packet pickup. And there were a couple of options to choose from in the downtown area, and we went with a place called Les Lafayette. There was a lot of activity outside. the food from what we could see looked good. The menu looked solid, and we ended up eating inside. We did want to sit outside, just to kind of, people watch, and the temperature was actually like really nice that day. And we ended up sitting inside to go and what we thought would be get a table faster.
Yeah.
And then Maddie ordered some kind of appetizer where I think you ate maybe one or two things on the entire plate.
Well, so just to be clear, everything was pre-fixed for the restaurant
Right.
for that
Yes.
lunch time frame. I don't know if it
Good
was
point.
special specifically for the marathon because they knew so many people would be filtering
They
in
were
and out of
turning
the
tables fast.
restaurant. But so it was a thing where you could choose an appetizer and an entree, or an entree and a dessert, or an appetizer and a dessert. Like you could choose two of the three. And that was kind of like a deal. So me with an egg allergy, I can't eat a lot of French desserts. I decided to get an appetizer instead. I had no idea what I was reading because we did not have phone service
Yeah.
in the restaurant. So I was trying like hell to translate this menu and I couldn't. So I was like, all right, du mer, that's seafood. All right, let's go for it. I'll get that appetizer. Oh, goodness. So one of the things on the plate, I didn't know whether I could actually eat because I
You didn't
didn't
know what it was.
the waitress didn't seem to understand when I had told her that I had an allergy to eggs, which is oof apparently in French, but she just was not super clear on it, so I just didn't trust it. It's better to not try to eat something that you might be allergic to. So I erred on the side of caution with that one, but I had the two oysters on the plate. I did not have the fish sticks, which looked like kind of congealed raw fish rectangles. But then they also had these like very, very tiny prawns, which I've never seen before.
They were like little
Um,
babies. They were like the size of your thumb.
they
They're
still had the
babies.
little
The
heads
baby
on.
shrimps.
I am not like a squeamish person when it comes to food. Like when we were in Thailand, I tried chicken feet. Like it's not saying that to like put it on my belt as a thing that I've accomplished, but like I'm not squeamish. But these little tiny prawns tasted very fishy, and I wasn't sure how to eat them, and I didn't know if I asked if I would actually get a straight answer. So I just kind of went through a couple of them and then decided that I was good.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Oh.
Yeah. So it is important to note that the restaurants that weekend do price fixed the whole weekend. So, yeah, it's something to note for family and friends that go to visit. And if they want to eat, grab a sandwich to bring with you or find other food because any restaurant sitting down is going to be price fixed. But it was interesting because when we sat inside, we found that the service was a little slow.
Little.
Just a little slow. Like it took us probably 45 minutes to an hour to get the entrees out. It was
Yeah.
almost like they forgot that we were there or we were such a low priority, it just didn't matter.
Yeah. And then as Maddie said earlier, you had the option of doing an appetizer and the main, or the main and a dessert. So when the waitress took our order, three of us ordered desserts, and
Mhm.
then we waited and waited and waited. And finally, I don't even know how long we waited
Oh,
after we
wait, and
finished.
we waited.
And we waited, right? Some more.
Yeah.
So I finally got up and just said, like, F this. Like, I'm just going to pay the bill, and like, we're just going to call it, because we had to go pick up our bibs. And at this point in time, we had spent way longer at lunch than any of us had anticipated or wanted to. So when I went and mentioned that, hey, like, don't charge us for the dessert, which was part of the prefix, right?
Yeah.
Don't charge us for the dessert because we didn't get it. There actually was a guy like next to the register, and he walked back over to make sure and looked at our table. He's like, yeah, like he confirmed that we did not get, as if like they didn't believe me. But anyway, we did not pay for the dessert, but we found out that the waitress never dropped our order for dessert, so we were just kind of waiting there, and kind of, I guess, like what kind of sounded the bells for me was that the people who were working in the kitchen that I kept seeing, putting the food, across for the wait staff, they started leaving the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all
Like for the
changing
day,
their
because like
shoes, they're
restaurants
changing
close
their
down like
clothes.
midday. So that was a good telltale sign. So yeah,
I would
but we went and then got our bibs, and it was lively. I think we kind of learned that, when you sign up for a race like this and you do it through a tour group and through accommodations like Lori was talking about, they have like separate areas where you pick up your bibs. So it wasn't stressful, but I mean, it was a little confusing because people were going up to the tables with like these papers with big barcodes, and we were like, where the hell are they getting the barcodes from? Because our registration was very different. We were handled in a separate place. I mean, we just didn't know what the process was. So I think by the third table we got to, we finally connected with our people and got our bibs, and we were all like, whew, thank goodness. But it was just a little confusing, but we managed to go and get through it.
Yeah, I feel like it was also a little confusing for us when we ran the Rome Marathon, which we'll get to in a few episodes down the road.
Yeah,
I think it was kind of similar. You kind of have to deal with the whole cultural differences, but that on top of the fact that we booked through the travel agency made it a little bit more unique for sure. But the travel agency was wonderful, and we'll get
agreed.
closer to that in a little bit. But yeah,
Agreed.
it was really cool circling back on Maggie, seeing all the different marathons. And a lot of the marathons that I felt like that were promoting there were also alcohol themed, like the
Yes.
Dramathon. And
Yes.
there's like a beer run somewhere. I'm
More
like,
wine runs. Yeah,
yeah,
there was a Chablis run.
yes, yes, there was.
I couldn't
Yeah,
imagine just drinking Chablis the entire time you're running.
I could.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Anyway.
Last thing about the expo, I also thought it was a telltale sign when they were selling costumes with the merch at the expo. I thought
Yeah.
that was one of a kind, and I thought that was going to be a good sign for the next day.
Yeah, because it was one of those deals where, hey, if you forgot to bring a costume, you need to go and buy something to at least wear a costume with the theme, right? Which was the sea. That was the theme of the race.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So we picked up our bibs and headed to the car. And once we got there, the car was gone.
I was like, where's the car?
Gone.
I think the best part was Maddie and I were walking in front of you two, and I think I had been around the rental car a lot more, and I was like, Maddie, the rental car's not there. She's like, that's it right there. I was like, Maddie, it's not there. It's not there. It's not there. Our rental car's gone. And I was just like, oh no.
That was
And you
one
guys,
of those limited circumstances where I actually kept a very cool head and was just like, oh, all right, car's not there. Well, if we randomly call the police, they're probably not going to know what the heck we're talking about. So I will just go to the closest race organizer because they're gonna know who to call. So I found a person in a yellow vest. And meanwhile, I think Lori was calling Dave to
No, I actually was also going to a race organizer.
Okay.
I think, yeah, Maggie called Dave as a backup just in case we needed
because
backup.
Dave
Yeah,
knew, so I had to do.
because again, they were like an hour plus away from us, the boys, and I'm saying the boys and Kelsey, but they were also like in town and like going to different bars and drinking and stuff. So we were like,
They were
that
not in a
probably was not
condition
going to be a
to
viable option anytime soon.
But so I hunted down this guy and he's immediately like you could see the stress wash over him and he was like, okay, all right. He was completely all business. Very great response from a race organizer because he could have just told us to fuck off. So the fact that he didn't, like, kudos to that guy. I never got his name, so kudos to him. Kudos to the race organizers for finding someone like him. But also, he then offered to drive us to the car to go pick up the car instead of just giving us a location, like I think probably would have happened in the US. And just being like, all right, go find your car. Bye.
Yeah.
He offered to drive. We took him up on it. So I think Maggie and Lori, you are the ones that hopped in the car.
Risked our lives.
Well, my mom and I are like, all right,
Uh-huh.
how much do you have left on your phone in terms of battery life? Oh, I'm at 20%, but you're at 40%. Okay, we're gonna put you on airplane mode. So we were coordinating that so that just in case something happened, we had a phone to do something. But anyway, you were in the car with the strange man.
Yes.
Yes, we got in the car and risked our lives with the strange man.
We could have walked there though. To put this in context, we get in the car and he drives like a minute away. And we're like, oh, alrighty then. And we pull up and there's just three large men in police uniforms. Don't speak great English, but the guy speaks to them in French and tries to explain. Our car is right there. We can see it. It's in like a junkyard with like a couple other cars, a boat, a couple boats. And they were like, okay, just stand here for a little while. So then we just stood there for a little while they laughed at us in French. Um, all of our luggage is in the cars. Let's note this, but
Right,
luckily
because
we
we
had,
hadn't checked into the hotel yet.
yeah, but luckily we had our passports on us because we needed them for packet pickup. So worst case scenario, we had all our passports. Um, but yeah, the guy eventually, it was like 100 something euros to get free the car, and the one policeman was heckling the second policeman, pretending like he couldn't speak English, but he was like, "Big strong cop, help you, big strong cop," and we were like, "This is patronizing," but whatever. We got the car back, and it wasn't too painful overall.
Yeah, it could have been worse. I think in the States that would have cost us about $500.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. And then we ended up driving back into Bordeaux and we checked into to our hotel.
Hotel Clemenceau by Happy Culture.
Um, I was so grossed out by the hotel. I was so disappointed. It put me in such a foul mood. The
I don't know
I
if
had in
that
my
would
head that
put you
like we
in
weren't
South.
staying at like a five-star hotel, but you walked in and there's like no lobby, right? And there's like a little desk and it's kind of like the entrance of the hotel is between like two restaurants and it's just like it looks like a, a walk up kind of entrance. And so you like Maggie and I went into the front desk. Not once did they ask for identification. No passport, no driver's license, no nothing. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, here you go. I'm like, holy crap, right? Because you think about like every place you go, like in Europe, you go to a hotel. I mean, they ask you for your passport, scan. They usually scan your passport. There's nothing, and then we take this elevator up to our floor, and it smelled like something died on it, and it was really creepy. Like I don't know, that whole experience. Like Maddie and I stayed in the hotel like the night before the marathon, but as soon as we were done and back at the hotel, we were like, we picked up our stuff because we had also rented an apartment that, a flat that Jim had stayed in with Dave and Connor. And I'm like, we're not staying in this hotel like another night. So just, for those who are doing the marathon, you know, we jumped at it, right? Because like it was like availability of the bibs and it was like, hey, I'm not even gonna care about this, but I don't know. I did not feel entirely safe in that hotel, nor did I feel like it was clean, and I tried to go and minimize as much time as possible that we stayed there. I know Lori and Maggie, you guys stay there like 2 nights, but like I don't know. It just to me it just was not optimal. It just kind of put me in a really foul mood. So we spent a shit ton of
I
money on it.
Yeah, we did. I kind of had a different feeling about it. I didn't have any expectations of what we were going into. It felt like a 3 star hotel. And again, it was agreed small, nothing fancy. For us, the room was clean, nothing smelled funky. I could lock my door, it felt safe. It was in a great location, right near the pedestrian
Yeah, the
walkway. I
location was
mean,
great. Yeah.
we had like Cartier and Louis Vuitton stores practically across the street from us. So I mean, I think I don't know about Maggie, but I definitely felt differently. I mean, it wouldn't have been where I personally would have booked my hotel. I wouldn't have booked that as my hotel. but I didn't mind it either. It was small, you know, but we are also in a bigger town, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know, Maddie, if you have anything else to add, but we got the hell out of Dodge as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I couldn't shake the fact that our floor smelled like instant ramen. I usually am totally fine with instant ramen. It's just when it's on the entire floor that you're staying on at a hotel, it's kind of surprising.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, that hotel did claim, unfortunately, my chapstick when we left the next day. But other than that, I don't have any like crazy complaints about the hotel. It just it was like a on its face, it's exactly what you expect when you get up to the room. So
Yeah, I just, for anybody who is signing up for Marathon du Médoc and you're doing it via, the accommodations method, because there were a lot of like really, really nice hotels that were already like booked up by the time we got online and got the reservation and got the bibs. But just a warning.
I think
That's yeah.
so I think that there's a possibility that that happens ahead of time, like before any of the lottery system opens up, because a coworker of mine is going to run Marathon du Médoc next year. She already knows. She's already got confirmation that she's got a bib next year along with the rest of her group. So she must be doing it through a group that has guaranteed bibs up to a certain amount, and you just sign up
It's probably
out of
Marathon Tours.
Yeah.
it might be
Yeah.
an I don't know what other companies are out there. We met someone who was running Marathon du Médoc who was doing it through Marathon Tours, but
Yes.
I mean there are probably other groups out there that have guaranteed bibs from these
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. So then, I mean, the morning of the race was fun. I mean, we ended up our bus, which again was very convenient for location. We like went right outside of our front door and the bus was right there. So
Yeah.
sometimes when Lori, you and I have stayed in other places, we've had to travel like, or, like maybe walk 15 minutes or even drive to a bus. This was like, because I remember I was like, I'll find out where the location of the bus is. I was like, oh shit, it's right outside the door. Like that's so convenient.
Yes, it was very
Very
convenient. Now,
convenient.
I remember thinking, so the marathon has a 9:30 start, and we knew going into that day, looking at the forecast, that it was going to get hot, and it was a 9:30 start, which we weren't overly thrilled about. But I feel like we had to take the bus. Did we pick up the bus at 6:30?
I think it was 6 o'clock.
Was it 6?
Yeah. Six,
I,
six, no,
uh,
6:30, because we got there 2 hours before the race started.
yeah, and I was thinking, oh my God, 2 hours before the race starts is so ridiculous. It was not ridiculous.
No, no, because I mean, by the time we got to the start and we used the bathrooms and we put on our sunscreen and then we were people watching, people watching, people watching.
Oh
And
my
then they
God, the
then they put
people
on this
watching.
extravagant show like before the start. Like the 2 hours just went poof. So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
We were cold.
The
We were freezing. My teeth were chattering. We were so cold at the start.
It was cold.
it
It
was
was
I
cold.
about you, I was
55.
wearing a long sleeve.
I know.
I know, like Maggie's not being like sarcastic there. It was chilly. It was 55 degrees when we were waiting. And we just kept saying, just remember how cold we are right now. Remember how cold we are.
Yeah.
Because the temperature, unfortunately, by the height of the race, got upwards of like 93 degrees. And which is it's just not safe. It's not safe to go and run at that temperature. And then 93 degrees. And Lori, I'm like, is that like the warmest one I think we've ever done? I think
Yeah.
maybe like the one I ran in Madison, Wisconsin, like by myself, might have been just a little tad bit warmer than that. But I can't remember what the actual temperature was for that one. But
I
I
cannot think of any other marathon that we've ran that was that hot.
yeah.
Even Arizona,
Yeah,
I don't
Arizona
even think
was
got that
definitely
hot.
not that hot. So I'm gonna go back and just kind of check for myself, but I do think that this was the warmest one I've ever done as well. So it just was ridiculous hot. So girls, what was the climate like at the start? Because everybody was in costumes, right? This is like a field of like almost 10,000 people, and people come in costume for the theme of the marathon, which this year was called the sea, so like the ocean. So Maggie, what was your experience?
I was laughing so hard I was snorting. Like I could not contain my laughter because I think it was just we obviously knew people were dressing in costume. We were in costume. They were selling them at the expo. But the extravagance of the costumes, like people had balloon like contraptions built on them, like someone did Nemo and they built the whole anemone on their body in balloons with floats and stuff. My favorite costume that I saw was a Brazilian lifeguard, a man in a wig with literally a fake boob, with the boob hanging out of a bikini and a wig in his lower region outside of the bikini. And I just couldn't stop laughing. It was just insane. Like the costumes were just so outlandish, very European, very over the top. Maddie, I don't know if you had a favorite.
I think my favorite, at least at the start, was the lighthouse that we passed, or the buoy. I don't know which it was supposed to be. It looked like a very small lighthouse, so could have been a buoy. But anyway, this
And I think it was
guy,
made of wood,
like,
wasn't it?
if you
Yeah.
picture taking a cone and putting it over your head, but the cone is large enough where it goes to like midway down to your body, that's what this guy was in a lighthouse costume. And he's running along. I don't even know if his arms were out, but like it's a full contraption. So I think that people were really truly creative with this costume challenge kind of deal. Um, I think the sea anemone was hilarious because then as the people are passing you, you hear the balloons like rubbing together.
It was like wait, 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 wait.
Yeah. And then as they're passing buildings, a balloon pops, like because it catches on the stone. But yeah, the creativity with these costumes was amazing. Like you don't even see that in Halloween parties or anything like that, whether it's in college or like grade school or anything along those lines. So I think that the creativity there was really cool to see, especially for a running community, because I don't know. I think that runners, at least from my experience in the US, runners kind of get into a lane of like, okay, I need to have this gear and I need to have this equipment and this
There was
needs to
none of that
be.
here.
It's very meticulous. This was like, oh, that guy could not have run in this previously. He's just going for it.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I
gonna
don't.
chafe. It's gonna chafe.
Yeah.
He's
Oh, yeah.
going to chafe. There were so many moments where I think all four of us agreed that is going to chafe. How is it going to chafe is the
Lori,
question.
Lori, what was your favorite costume? Or did you have ones where you were like just like because I know we were all like laughing at the same ones, but any other ones that stand out to you?
The dude in the string banana hammock,
Oh, the Borat costume.
suspenders, yeah, that goes straight up the buttocks. I was wondering how his ass chafed, that day because good gracious,
Yeah,
that
good
was just bad.
gracious.
That was,
Yeah.
there was a lot of butts. There was a lot of cheeks.
There were all right, so let's
Oh
just
man.
put it out there that like the and most of the men, it was men who were very scantily clad. They were French. So they just kind of used this as an opportunity to kind of like parade their bodies around. And at some point in time, and I'm just gonna jump right to like just because we're talking about like, skin. It was maybe like mile 23, Lori, and you went in to go get two more glasses of wine because it was like one of the last stops before like we were going to the finish. And I was like, all right, I'll wait over here for you, right? And so I'm standing there and I'm like, oh, geez, like a lot of people were there. I'm like, I kind of lost sight of you. So I turned around and I'm like scanning, and all of a sudden, right in front of me is like this like 20-something-year-old guy. He has no shirt on. He's got a pool tube, like a little swimmy tube around his waist. Freaking no pants on. Like no pants. Like freaking full ass fucking frontal, right? And I like so of course like me being like, me, I was like, "Oh, that's a penis." And these two British guys are standing next to me. They're like, "Oh, mate." And I'm going to botch their accent, but they're like, "You need to put it away. That's too much. It's way too much." And the guy's just like, wah, like he's walking around and like he just went on his way and he had his glass of wine. And I'm like, what in the Sam hell? Now, mind you, right? We're running in this area where there are zero trees. Like I want to say there was maybe like 0.5% shade on this course. Am I right,
I don't
ladies?
know what that sunburn looks like.
He wasn't sunburned. He had the tire tube freaking like
No,
over
the
his
tube is
junk.
gonna magnify the sun.
But the chafe,
Any
like
water
the
on it,
chafe.
that's going straight.
I was like, wow, after 63 marathons, that was a first.
That was a first. Yeah, I would say the only time we had shade on the course was approaching a chateau. Like when we
Agreed.
were either approaching or leaving the chateau, but otherwise we were literally running vineyard to vineyard. In the beginning, in the early morning, I think we had more roads and little villages and stuff like that. But then I would say like the back half of that race was vineyards, full sun, chateau, full sun, vineyards, chateau, hills,
A lot of hills. It felt like sometimes like the entire race was uphill, and then also the roads leading into the chateaus, and when you get into the chateaus, many of them were dirt roads that were leading in. In fact, Maddie and I just did a longer run this past weekend, and we were laughing because our shoes are still like filthy from the marathon, from all the dust. And then you had like a lot of gravel. So whether it was pea gravel or like river rock. So sometimes it was so dense that it was very, very difficult to go and run on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the one thing I will go and say is that probably like the temperature for me started kind of creeping up around mile 8, and I entered the struggle bus, and I like strapped myself in, and I sat on that bus like for a really, really long time. Like it got to the point where, and I can't remember at what mile, like Maggie, you had already gone forward, from us. Maddie, you were starting to go ahead, and then I kept telling Lori, I was like, just go without me, just leave me. Just leave me, and she wouldn't leave me. So thank you, my friend, for that. Because man, I was like strapped in. I'm on struggle bus because we ran out of water, and the race ran out of water from miles 10 through 16 ish.
I don't think it was quite that long. I feel like it was like 4 miles, maybe 2 chateaus we went through.
Yeah, well, it was a good chunk of like mileage, like where people, we actually saw people on the side of the road picking up water bottles that had been half consumed and then drinking the rest of the water. So I don't know about y'all, but I went in and did the survey. They sent it to us in French, and I did the translation so that way I could go and respond, because that was like it was poor planning with them knowing it, because we knew like days and days in advance that race was going to be super hot. And I think what probably happened is, because they hand out like actual water bottles, is that probably a lot of people on the forward edge of the race got really, really warm. You didn't see a lot of people carrying water the way we do, like, your own water bottle. So chances are they went and grabbed like multiple bottles. And by the time we started coming through, like there was no water left. We were grabbing water from the sides of the chateau, where they had a spigot open, just wherever. I know, Lori, you and I, like, I mean, you were asking like, some medical staff. I think you asked, I don't know if it was like a EMT or somebody, or like, somebody who was on a bike, like, do you have any water? And the guy like, ripped out a bottle of water, and, we ended up carrying that with us. So that was a real struggle for a good portion of the race.
The good news about that was that they were very responsive day of. and they knew what was happening, and they
Yes.
did send trucks out so that
Yes.
I can remember the first chateau that got a delivery of water. There was like a line, like, so there was all these chateaus, long lines for the wine, long lines for the wine. About, I'd say somewhere around mile 16, probably 15, 16, it all started to shift, and it was long lines for the water because they were starting to get deliveries for water.
Yes.
And
Yeah, they did pivot on that. And
yeah,
then the other thing that they pivoted on was that they have a sweeper cart. And the sweeper cart's kind of cool because it's like this, it's actually like a big, huge cart. And these two guys run inside of it and push it. And then you have other people that are around it in almost like these Grim Reaper outfits or like these friar outfits. And they have
Like
these
a
whistles that
monk
they blow.
outfit
What were
almost.
they?
Yeah, like a monk.
yeah.
Like a monk? I don't know. They
It's
just
like full body robes. I actually saw one of the guys pulling up the robes at some point to air out his legs because they went down to like the sneakers.
Yeah, I mean they were full like these maroon, brownish maroon colored robes. So you very, very distinctive. And the sweeper cart has actual like brooms attached to it, and it was for 6 hours and 30 minutes. And essentially they would come to each of the chateaus, they'd blow their whistles and like really loud whistles. And what we found out as we were running along the race was that if you wanted to get a medal, you had to go and finish before the sweeper car. So at this point in time, we were kind of like playing like leapfrog with the sweeper, folks. And so then all of a sudden, like, I know like Maggie, you and Maddie were just like I'm going. Like I'm not gonna go and not get a medal. So you guys, went ahead. But then at some point in time, and Lori, I don't know what mile, like, or chateau, the cart just kind of stopped because I think they realized, like, okay, we don't have water and it's 93 degrees, like,
Yeah.
and this is not safe. So we didn't see the sweeper car like after that for a period of time. Yeah, go ahead, Mag.
I would also like to add that the sweeper car were runners themselves and they were drinking as well. So
Yes,
Yes.
there
they
was a
stopped at every
lot.
chateau and drank.
Yeah. So I think there was a lot coming into play with the sweeper car. Like, yes, it was ungodly hot and they were wearing full length robes, so that definitely slowed them down. But I also like I have a video of them and I'll post it to Mile 20 of them dancing like at the chateaus and drinking. Like they were runners themselves and having a good time. So I think now that we've done it, knowing more about the sweeper car for people who run this in the future, I think it's just more of a way to keep people moving on the course because you could get so sucked into a chateau and just want to stay and drink. There's live music,
People
have
were
a
dancing
snack.
and singing,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Like I
yeah.
think it was more just a way to keep people moving on the course. Like the sweeper car did not finish in 6.5 hours.
No,
A lot of
definitely
people
not
did
that
not finish in 6.5 hours.
So full disclosure, I did my homework about 2024 prior to the start because we were all a little stressed about the running, the stopping, the partying, the drinking, and everything. And I think I saw that there were like 800 people that finished after 7 hours. So they say it's a 6:30 cutoff, and I think that that's what they really wish it would be. But there is the sweeper car, and even this year, people were finishing up into 7:30. But it does vary from year to year. When the sweeper car does finish, it finishes and it's done. But I think it's a little bit more flexible than 6:30. It all depends on how much the sweeper car guys are drinking.
Yeah, and we, I mean, and we just didn't know, and man, these whistles that they blow, like it puts a new meaning to the song "Blow the Whistle."
Yes, and which
That-
happened to come on while we were running in the field, and we heard a whistle, and I'm like, this song will forever have a different meaning for me. Forever.
I totally agree, and I felt like I had like a little bit of like post-traumatic stress disorder. Like I heard a whistle, gotta run, gotta
especially when
run.
we weren't sure how the sweeper car worked. Well,
Yeah.
so just to back up a little bit, I don't know if it was because of the party or the group that we had signed up with for this marathon, but we felt like we were in the dark with a lot of the information for the marathon it's a very well organized marathon. I bet that if you do it multiple years, you can expect certain things to just consistently happen. But as a newcomer, we were very lost for a lot of things, but the sweeper car was one of them. So we didn't quite know what we had to do with the sweeper car. We just didn't like the sweeper car. So as it was leapfrogging us, I think all four of us were getting a little anxious, not knowing what exactly it had to do with us, or we weren't anxious, but we probably could have been in terms of getting a medal. So I think Maggie, you made a friend on the race route. Do you want to tell us about her?
Yeah, she was a freelance journalist. So I was like, who do you write for? She was like, either travel and or leisure, food and wine, whoever buys my story. And I was like, okay, so big name magazines or blogs or whatever. And she had interviewed the race director the night before. And she was running her first ever marathon. She was from New York, running her first ever marathon as the Marathon du Médoc. And so I was like, can you ask someone what the sweeper's about? And we were probably halfway at this point, like 13, I would say almost halfway, maybe mile 12. And she was like, yeah, so you have to finish before the sweeper to get a medal. And I was like, okay, got it. And I think
Maggie speeds up and runs away.
I was just like, because I was still feeling pretty good at that point. I don't think the heat had gotten to me yet. And the water had started running out, and I was just like, I just gotta go ahead. So I had separated at that point, and I ran, this is just something I'll add, I ran the last 14 miles with no music. And that was something I was reflecting on, that's how entertaining this race was. I spent the latter half, the end of the race, 14 miles by myself with no music. I was just that entertained by the live music at each of the chateaus, like some people watching. And I didn't even think about it till I think Maddie, you and I were talking about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't listen to any music when I split off.
Meanwhile, I was like, oh, the moment where Taylor Swift's Shake It Off comes on, it's a series of songs that's just like, shit is really bad right now, but it's gonna be fine.
Well, all right, talking about music.
You, Lori.
So I know like we had you guys, add music to the playlist and stuff. And then like you both left us and then we're like stuck listening to your music and we were like, this sucks.
Oops.
Oopsie.
I listened to the music still.
Yeah, no,
I heard my
that was
Demon Hunters music come on.
let's talk about the chateaus though, ladies. I mean, these venues that they had us, running into and drinking the wine. Like the first place we went to, they served the wine in like little plastic cups. But then the second place that had, this beautiful pond in front of it, we were like, holy shit, they're serving us wine in glasses.
In glasses. It was amazing. I mean, I feel like I do not need to go back to the Medoc region to taste wines. I had a 26.2-mile walking tour of the most beautiful chateaus with the most
Beautiful,
amazing wine on the planet. I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, I just wish it was a crisp, beautiful fall day at 70 degrees. It wasn't. But you know what? It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
at some point in time we stopped, right? Because you were like, I need to stretch out. And we ponied up to like the side of this chateau. And like you were leaning on it. I was doing something, and you were like, wait, let's take this in. I'm stretching and holding on to a chateau, like freaking stretching right now. So I think I got a picture of you like pretending like you were kissing the wall or something like that. Like it was just, yeah, it was putting it in perspective, like, and again, Lori, I appreciate you kind of like, unstrapping my struggle bus like a gear, like one little thing at a time. Cause like we went and like did a lot of intervals and so forth. But I did read that, once you sustain a like a heat injury, by doing physical activity, and Maddie, I go back to like the run that you and I did when it was like 87 degrees in Maryland, and I zonked that race. You become more susceptible to like then your body like shutting down because it's more like a protective reflex. So I have a feeling that that's like some of the shit that I had going on when my body was like, no, it's too hot. Like we've been here before, and this is a bad spot. So, but I appreciate Lori, you kind of like sticking with me, and you getting me through it. But I don't know the chateaus. Anybody have a favorite place like for a particular reason? Not that you remember the names of them, but like a description of the chateau.
I think I got really excited around mile 16 when there was a series of super close chateaus and they had sprinklers going.
Yes.
And I doused myself in water, and I realized if I was soaking wet, I could run until I dried off like a minute and a half later. And I might have contributed to the water problems once I got ahead a little because once I saw that they were delivering waters, I would literally take a top off my water bottle and then douse myself
Yeah.
because it's the only way I could like run even just a little bit. And I had a 360 chafe around my stomach that I didn't even notice because I was just so focused on like keeping water in my water bottle and keeping as cool as I could. But
Yeah,
the
and that's
sprinklers were a game
no,
changer.
and that's something really really clutch that if you do go and choose to get sprayed by a hose or sprinkler, or you start getting your clothes wet, you become much more susceptible for things to rub and you don't know it and get chafed. So, Lori, when they had the hoses, we're like, no, just like
Just
just
sprinkle.
yeah. And then the one guy pulled you into like the hose, didn't he, Lori? In the one of the last
Yes.
chateaus to
I
dance.
had I had some lovely gentleman who was frolicking and dancing and getting into it,
Come
and I'm
dance with
like,
me in the sprinkler. Lori's like, no.
no, like, stop touching me. Yeah, no, it wasn't good. Now, I will tell you, Laura, I don't know how much you thought about it or not, but when you got on the struggle bus, I missed having Ned because I knew that when you wear Ned, I can touch Ned and we can have a moment. And you know what I mean? But like Ned wasn't there. And I'm like, I don't know how to help you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what to do.
It happens. It happens. Like
Now
I have fond
for people,
memories of the race, but like also not. So
yeah. And
yeah.
for those who may be just tuning in, Laura lost her brother many, many years ago, but she used to wear for all of the marathons in the 50 states, she wore his picture on the back. And this was the first marathon that she
Yeah, I
did.
might, I might, I might, I might put that picture on the back of my shirt. It might have been a sign, and he's like, "No, we're not done yet."
Yeah,
So, yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
He was
yeah.
not happy. He
Watch
was
me
not
PR my
happy.
next marathon.
Atlantic City.
Oh, fuck.
Oh my goodness.
I
Yeah.
can't wait for Atlantic
It's so
City.
flat.
Yes.
I think my favorite chateau, even though I didn't actually stop for wine, unfortunately, I got very in my head about the sweeper cart, and I did not stop for wine after mile 10. Like I was stopping, but I was specifically stopping if I could get water or sprayed in the face with water. Like I was on a mission. Um, I don't know what kind of mission it was because I don't think I had as much fun on that mission, but it's fine. I do think that I think it's Chateau Felon Segur. Absolutely gorgeous. It was the very long stop where I think there were three tastings. There
Mm,
were family
like a
members,
little rolling hill that came down.
different live performance people that were like doing music and either DJing or like singing or whatever. It looked like such a fun stop, and The château was absolutely gorgeous. The grape vines were not far off from the actual property, but it was one of those photo opportunities for the race. So they had actual photographers there taking pictures of people with little signs and stuff like that. So not only is it a stop where the race knows that it's a stop, but also like I just appreciated the energy going through it, and there were people dancing and singing, and it felt like everyone was having a really good time, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially
There was a
like
lot of
in the middle
dancing
of
and
nowhere.
a lot of dancing and singing. Lori, do you remember the guy that we saw that he's holding a glass of wine, he's like trash, and he's like dancing, and then he's like smoking a cigarette with a bib on, and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I think it's very important to realize that this is not a normal marathon. Like, you're not going out there to set a course record. Now, I think that the winner did go out and ran like a 2:17, but
That
he's
was
not having fun. That's not the point
crazy,
of this. This is
crazy
not what
the
this
how fast.
marathon is
Yeah.
about. This
Yeah.
marathon is about running to a chateau, sipping the wine, listening to a little bit of music, making sure that when the sweeper cart blows their whistle, whoop, whoop, that you're on that train and you take off to the next one.
Yeah.
It's about having fun.
Yeah.
But
I
I
think
do want to.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, there was a funny incident that there was a guy who was running, young guy, like maybe late 20s, early 30s, probably late 20s, and he had no shirt on. And this poor guy was so burnt. And we kept seeing him. And at some point in time, Lori runs up and kind of like taps him, or you didn't tap him, you got in front of him. And you were like, you're burnt. Like, and you had like the sunscreen, because we carried the sunscreen, and he was like, I love you.
I'm like a mama.
You're like, I'm a mama.
Please
I'm a mama. I need
let
to
me
spray you. And she sprayed his back and he was like, I love you. I love you. He was so burnt though. He was like rock lobster
Lori's
red
got a
already.
French boyfriend.
Yes, his name is David, and he is upstairs sleeping
Oh
right
my
now.
gosh. This guy was so burnt though.
Okay, but
so
we do need to take a moment and circle back though, because I will never think of French wines the same. Because shall we discuss what happens in the middle of the grapevines in the middle of
Oh,
Marathon du
oh,
Médoc?
oh.
I think
It's a special ingredient.
yes, and I think we are all glad no one had to poop, because let it be known, there's few and far between porta potties on the course. So what do
Like
you do?
hardly any. Yeah.
As a group of women, we found a bush that covered us, and we just dropped trowel. But the men, they water the grapes.
Yeah, they were all watering the grapes. There was a lot of water.
There was a lot of watering of the grapes.
My favorite watering of the grapes was there was a gentleman dressed up as Waldo from Where's Waldo? And he was literally in the middle of the vineyard, just standing there waving, taking a
But
piss.
peeing and waving.
Hello.
And then do you remember the girl? She was like,
Yes.
every time she saw like a bunch of guys peeing, she kept taking pictures of them, and then she'd
So-
run away, and then they were like chasing her. Like,
She
she's
was
like,
dressed
"Wee
up
wee."
like a lobster. She was dressed up like a lobster for the entire race. Like, I can't believe that she kept the costume on the entire time in the first point. Second point was every single time she saw someone pissing in the vineyards, she took a picture. I was behind her for a while, and I saw her do this multiple times. She would veer off for a second, snap a picture, and
But then they
giggle
chase after her, like
maniacally.
we saw her getting chased at some point in time, like
That's
in jest, But
But
they
so I saw her afterwards, like in the marathon tent, I think with Maggie, and I stopped her and I was like, "Are you the person that was taking pictures?" I wasn't using my hands or anything at this point. It's like, "Did you take all the photos of the people peeing?" And she couldn't understand, there was a language barrier. So I was like, "Did you take pictures of the people peeing in the grapes?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, that was me." So I found
that's
her.
yes.
I did not get her album access, but I would have loved to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
for
that
real.
That's a special ingredient. And just one last shout out to the gentleman who wore the SpongeBob
Oh my
costume.
gosh.
This
It was like a
costume was
onesie.
it was like, well, Patrick was a onesie. He had so the one guy was a onesie, and then his friend made it was almost like a cardboard insert. So he had his arms like outside of this cardboard thing, but it was huge and gigantic. He never once took it off. And when we talked to his friend who was wearing the Patrick costume, he said, I thought we were going to take them off, but because he's still wearing his costume, I'm keeping mine on. And his Patrick costume was like this thick fleece, like pajama onesie thing. And I'm like, y'all are freaking crazy. So at the end of the race, Lori, when you and I were coming into the finish, do you remember that the guy who was SpongeBob and Patrick, they were standing there and a bunch of runners stopped and they were like, not worthy, not worthy, like kind of paying
Yes.
homage to them. Because I mean, I have pictures of him like dancing like online to go get his wine in his SpongeBob costume. That
He
was
was
dedication.
sweating. He was sweating his ass off. Now, I also
Friends
want to
don't
bring,
let friends stay in their costumes by themselves.
there you go.
There you go.
Exactly. Now, in conjunction with the heat and the wine, I do feel like there were a vast number of people who were unprepared for
Yes.
what was going on that day. And I will tell you, I have never seen so many ambulances on the
Agreed.
course in my
Agreed.
life. So I feel like we had a lot of fun. We did it safely that day.
Yeah.
But we also trained for it. We didn't take that for granted. We always respect the distance. And we trained by drinking a little bit of wine, at Broad Street, at the Blob Fest. But like we knew we were in the heat, we were running, we tried. But man, there were people dropping like flies.
Yeah.
It became for some people a very unsafe situation. And I don't know
I
if they were
agree.
circling back for multiple tastes at certain chateaus. I don't know what was going on, but people were dropping.
Something that's interesting about the finish line that my dad observed as a many-time marathon spectator that put this into great perspective for me was that the 6.5 hour finishers were finishers that looked to be like an American race 4 hour finishers. So people really were just enjoying their time. And again, the heat was bad, but I think that was an interesting perspective that in hindsight and now knowing that most people finish around 6.5 hours, I wish I had known that before because it would have made me feel a lot better about finishing in that time. But about finishing and the medals, Mom, you have your medal behind you if you want to describe it.
I'm going to let Maddie do it because it's actually in her hand.
Let's see
You
if
got to describe it
so
because not everybody watches us on video.
we have the label of the marathon names, or sorry, the area in which it was run, which is Médoc. Because of the theme of this year, Médoc is shaped in the form of like a fish.
Yep.
And then there's a wine glass that goes through the O. And then it's labeled for the year in which it was run, so 2025, but also the year that the marathon, or the years that the marathon has been held. So for us, it was number 39. That means that next year is 40, which could be a super cool landmark year for the marathon organizers. And it could mean that the marathon has some extra special little accoutrement, past oysters, past steak, past popsicles at mile like 20, or sorry, no, not mile 20. It was like mile
What?
20.
Popsicles? There were
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
popsicles?
Sorry, Laura and I didn't get popsicles.
Right there, bitches. Right there. Middle finger. Didn't get
I did
popsicles.
disgusting things to that popsicle. I was
Yeah?
so
There were no-
addicted to that
there were
popsicle.
We saw
no-
the signs for them. We saw the signs for them.
No popsicles left when we got there.
There was a huge crowd outside of the oyster truck. I did not stop for it
Didn't see
personally,
oysters
but they
either.
were actively shucking the oysters.
I saw the oysters.
No, I didn't
I
see the
did not
oysters.
see the steak. I saw the remnants of the chocolate croissants. But yeah, anyway, again, if next year, or if this marathon is any indication of how over the top these organizers can go, I think that the 40th year or the 40th anniversary of the race is going to be crazy and very cool. The theme is going to be the 80s. So I can't imagine how little clothing people are going to be wearing.
Oh yeah.
There's going to be a lot of leg warmers.
Only.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, there were a lot of lifeguards. I know we mentioned earlier, just kind of like looping back around, we did mention that we were going to talk about lifeguards. There were a lot of lifeguards. We had talked about like dressing up as lifeguards, or I threw it out there. Thank goodness I didn't, because like almost everybody was dressed up like a lifeguard, right?
Yes.
What did we all dress up as?
Pirates.
None of us talked about it. Yeah, we all were pirates. We paired off. Lori was Nami from One Piece and I was Luffy. If you don't know One Piece, it's an anime show that is hella long to try to catch up on, but it is very worth it because it teaches people and kids about, how to build friendships, how to maintain friendships, how to stick up for the little guy and that kind of stuff. Mom was
A pirate.
You were Hook. We were Hook and Smee from Peter Pan. So I was Mr. Smee and Laura was Captain Hook.
Yeah. No, it was fun. It was fun. It was fun going and dressing up. And the other cool thing was in the very beginning of the race before it started, they had like acrobats.
Aerialists.
Yeah. And what was it? That looked like a ship, right?
Yeah, so it was like the mast of the ship with 3 different layers. So they had people on all 3 layers, like on a construction crane
Yeah, it was
above.
hoisted.
Yeah. And so they had people doing like the silks and the hoop hanging down from a crane, and we ran under them to start the race. So that was a very unique start to the race. But I guess circling it up, talking about future years, we can go individually if we would run it again. I think I personally would, because now I know what to expect a little more, and I think I would enjoy it a lot more now knowing what to expect. So I would love to do it maybe a little more stress-free, knowing what to expect. Laura, would you run it again?
Not if it's 93 degrees. No. No. I'm good. I'm good. There's plenty of other races to do in the world, and I feel like, yep, I checked the block on that one, and I'm good.
Yeah. Maddie?
I think I would. Though if the forecast said 90 plus degrees, I think I would bag out. I don't know. I agree with my mom that there are a ton of other races to run in the world, and they could also offer experiences that are very cool and crazy.
Yeah.
I'm a hell yeah. Absolutely. I'd run it again. Yep, sure. That was fun. I'd do it again in a minute. I think partly because, like you said, Maggie, not that I was stressed, but I do sometimes feel like when you know what you're going into, you can sometimes take more of a moment to appreciate. And I don't know, I know I appreciated it and I know I took it in, but I feel like I could do more.
I didn't take any of it in. I feel like I took like morsels in because of the heat and the water. I just, yeah. So that did it in for me. So, but all right. Well, next week we are going to kind of close out all of the travels and the escapades of Europe. And Lori, with you still being in France right now, we're going to get a nice recap of like, since, we left, like, what have you been up to? What have I been up to? Kind of like, we'll do a little bit of speed dating, in terms of, doing our little catch up. And I believe we're going to try to do it in person next week as well, right?
Yep, I'll be home on Tuesday.
Yeah,
Whoop, whoop.
yep. Come back to reality, baby. So yeah, we missed you for the Eagles game this past weekend. Go Birds.
Go Birds. I'm
3-0,
looking forward,
baby. 3-0.
by
So
the grace of God.
Yep. Yep. No, super exciting. So folks,
I think you mean by the grace of big boy touchdown.
yes.
Yeah, big boy touchdown.
Big boy touchdowns. We love big boy touchdowns. Absolutely. Absolutely. So hey folks, thanks for listening to us do a nice little recap of the Marathon du Médoc. I think we had, kind of like we had our ups and downs and our loves and our hates of the race, which just happens when you have 4 people that have, different experiences. So thanks, hang with us and go make mile 20 your bitch this week. Peace out.
Peace out.